with. This is a friend's house, and this little building is coming down in the near future. But it does give us the opportunity to look at packing out the wall face. One of the concerns I have about the way we use lime mortar now is that we assume that lime mortar is going to solve everything, and I don't think it does. I think that the lime mortar is an essential component in the repair of historic buildings, but I don't think it's the be-all and end-all of everything. I think the more important aspect of this is how we pack out the wall surface. And by that I mean bringing the wall surface flush, but making sure that the core of the wall is protected from water ingress, and that we're keeping the mortar to the absolute minimum. So you can see here how that there are huge voids in here, and there are some areas with small voids. And I'm going to use a mixture of materials to pack that wall surface out. But before we get into the process of packing out the wall surface, I want to say something about the preparation of that packing material. And we've got a mixture of materials here. But the first thing I want to address is making sure that whatever it is we're using is well soaked. So I've got a bit of the Taradale sandstone, and I'm going to knock it into a variety of rough pieces. Then I'm going to put those pieces into a bucket of water and let them soak. Now normally I would let them soak for several hours. In this case, what I did was I broke these pieces up yesterday. I then drained them, and these are damp, but they're not glossy with water, and that's really important. In its present state, that's unusable. I want you to think about the conditions in which carbonation takes place, and it's very specific. It's in a band of relative humidity between 40 and 80%. And if this is really dry, and if the wall face is really dry, it takes out that moisture very rapidly. So in a very short space of time, even at this time of year, which is the winter, you can prevent carbonation taking place because the moisture content in the wall has dropped below that 40% relative humidity. Conversely, you don't want the material in that state because it's clearly well above the 80% relative humidity, but also it's going to what I would refer to as swim about in the wall. So it's having it damp but not soaking wet. And I've got bits of slate, bits of stone, bits of sandstone that are a bit harder, and on occasion I'll even use bits of thermalite block. Okay, so you can see that I've already damped the wall down, and it's a little bit too wet to go onto, but because we've got a time constraint on this, I'm going to live with it. What I really would have liked was for that gloss to have gone from there. So we've got quite a large hole here, and I can actually get the handle of my brick hammer right in there. So that gives you a sense of how deep that hole is, and it's really important that we get right to the back of there and get that solidly packed out. We've cut our stone so it fits at the front, but we need to make sure that that area in there is packed solid. So now I'm going to show you how we'll go about that, and it will also illustrate the real importance of that haired mortar. And we're going to get that right in to the back there. There's nothing pretty about this, and you don't need too much in at this stage. Now, we'll start out with something small to make sure that it's going to go right into the back. Sandstone's quite soft, so it will bruise in, and that's really solid into there. Just take it in little bites, don't get too greedy about this. So now I try my stone in, and it's set just behind the line of the wall. So I need to pack more in there, so it's going to finally end up just about there. Keep pushing until it's absolutely solid. Try our stone in, and that's absolutely perfect. Just there. Flush with this stone here. It's set just behind that one, but that stone is actually tailing in. Now I can also see that just above there's a little gap in there, and I want to make sure that that's solid as well. So we'll pop a little piece in there. And another little piece in there. And again. Now let's start the process of building around it. Again, you can see the importance of the hair, because the hair is folding around the trowel and it's actually getting right into the back of that joint. I'm just going to drive that bit of slate in there. Piece of slate down here. And then what we're going to do, a bit of fine tuning here, there and everywhere. Now this here, I've got no platform on which to build from, so I'm absolutely reliant on getting something there which is sort of scallop shaped. So that is going to just sit in there like that. What I'm testing for all the time is just how deep the mortar is. So that is just deeper than I would like it. So I'm going to just pop that on there. And all the time I leave that with a torn edge. Okay, so this is one that hasn't been done there. And we'll again approach that in a very similar way to the way that we approach this, but here we've got a more regular line up there, so we can almost create a little ladder heading on up there, but we'll still pay a lot of attention to this area in here where you can see there's that void. So then I'll pack the joint first before I place my ladder. Okay, so I know that there or thereabouts they're going to fit in there, but I'm also very aware that there is the void behind there, so I want to make sure that that's absolutely solid before I place these. So I'm going to take these out and set them aside in the order that I've drywalled them. I've been packing away at that, and that is now really solid, and I'm happy with that. So now let's think about getting our ladder in, and we might have to adjust one or two of those. So you can see that the mortar is a draft proofing, weatherproofing lubricant. It's the actual bits of masonry that are doing the hard work. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of mortar into there. To my slate section. And I'm going to wedge that in there. And any other little areas, I'm going to poke some little bits of sandstone in. I'm just going to carry on into these really deep areas, consolidating back in there. So let's feed our mortar into that. This is my wall prepared for pointing, but I just want to go through one more thing, and that's fine-tuning it as if we were going to harlet. So if I were going to harlet, I would have let this take up overnight, and then I would be applying this the following day, having scraped that back a little bit. So fine-tuning it, is done just like this, and then I take my trusty saw blade and leave a nice torn surface. So having done that, I'm just going to test that, and some of those bits of mortar are just a wee bit thicker than I would like them, so I would pack that out with those vertical bits of slate and again tear it.